Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the previous two videos to this little series where I taught you how to deconstruct the book and select your pages for your junk journal, and how to cut down your papers and start creating your signatures for your junk journal. So today is how to make the binding or the spine for your soft spine junk journal, and how to stitch that spine or binding onto your book covers. So that's what's up next in this video. Stick around, watch it till the end. I think you'll learn a lot, and this is a super fun process, so get ready. Okay, so to make the spine, I have a piece of canvas left over from something I was making yesterday, and there is probably an exact science, well, maybe not exact science to do this, but I just kind of make up my own way. I don't know if this is how you're actually supposed to do this, but it works. I'm gonna say I'm holding together the open end of the signatures to see how much these expand, because once we start adding stuff, it's gonna bulk up quite a bit. We're at 1.5 inches. So I'm gonna say the spine needs to be 1.5 inches wide, plus a little bit to overhang on each side. So I do probably, I'm gonna do 1 inch on each side just to give us some wiggle room. So that is going to be 1.5 inches plus 2 inches would make it 3.5 inches. So we'll just use this straight edge that we have here as our starting point. And then I'm gonna measure how tall this is. And I'm gonna make it, so it is about 6 3/4 long. So I'm gonna make it a little bit shorter than that. I'm gonna make it right at 6 inches long. Okay, so we're gonna measure 6 inches down. And then I'm gonna measure straight across and make sure that this is square. Oh, you probably can't see what I'm doing. Or square-ish. Yeah, I'd call that good. So let's just draw our straight line across. And we're gonna cut that out. All right, so here's our little piece that's going to be the base of our book binding. And then we're gonna figure out what color we want this to be. Okay, so I have a little pack of some fabrics. These are for doing applique or quilting or whatever. But I like how they look kind of vintage, since this obviously looks vintage. So I'm just gonna match a couple to this and see what look I like. I kind of like this one. So it's kind of vintagey looking. That's really pretty with that, actually. This is kind of fun, and they kind of look like they go together. Might do those two. It's too matchy. Let's do those two. Okay, so I'm gonna do something similar to what I did here, just so I can show you how to do it. It's just kind of, I just kind of made it up as I went. But basically what I did is just cut pieces of fabric out like this. I literally just chopped it up kind of like that. So I'm just gonna cut up a few and start, because if I have some of this left over, I'll use it for applique on something. So what I did was just kind of lay it all out on here, and it's not going to be perfect, and it's gonna kind of overhang. That's like the point of it. So it's supposed to look sort of patchworky. like a quilt or something. And then I took my pin cushion. Sorry, look at the non-perfectionist being a perfectionist here. Hang on. I want this to lay out perfectly. Okay, so I'm just gonna take my straight pins and sort of halfway stick these on here. I'm not assigning a pin to every piece. I'm just kind of tacking them down like this. Okay. Now at this point you could choose to sew this or glue this. I'm gonna sew it because I have my sewing machine right here. And I'm not gonna worry about what thread color I have or anything. Right now I have white thread in the bobbin and green thread in the top. So I think that's actually gonna look kind of good because we have green on our cover here. So be right back, let me sew it. Okay, so here we go. I've stitched it on. I don't know if you can see these stitches or not, but they are just completely random. I just kind of went over each little piece just to make sure it got tacked down, and you know, none of them are tacked down super well, but good enough that they're gonna stay on. So there's that. Maybe you can see it better on this side. No, you can't see it at all, but that will be our cover for our little book that we're gonna make. So now I'll show you how to attach this to your covers. Okay, so for this part, you're gonna need either a glue stick, or you could also use something like Fabri-Tac tacky glue. I was using Elmer's, just normal, like the purple one before, but I saw on YouTube that Melanie Sullivan was talking about this one because it is made to hold down paper and fabric. So we'll try it with this first and see if it sticks. And if not, we will do the tacky glue. So all I'm gonna do, actually I'm gonna put glue on the cover, and I'm just gonna overlap maybe like a ½ inch. Then I'm just gonna stick it down, and you can see there's still a hole exposed. Actually, I'm gonna overlap this just a teensy bit more. There's still a hole exposed, which is fine. This is a junk journal, so it's not going to be perfect. We also have some threads and stuff we can trim later. But basically this glue is just holding it down for me while I sew it in. So now I'll take my back cover and do the same thing. Put glue on about a ½ inch. Make sure, see, this is where the arrows pointing up come in handy. And we're gonna make it about the same distance overlapped. Make sure we have a straight line here. Oh, this definitely does work a lot better than the purple Elmer's glue stick, let me tell you. Game changer. Okay, so we're gonna let that dry for just a second so it doesn't gum up the needle whenever we're trying to sew it. And I'm going to trim these off. You could leave these on if you wanted to. I did on the inside, and it looks really cute on your pages if you leave some threads hanging. So there we go. We let that dry for just a second. Okay, so now that this has had a couple minutes to dry, we are going to start sewing. So I have this pack of repair needles. It's got things like a darning needle. I don't know what all these are called, but they're thicker needles with a larger eye that makes them easier to thread. And then I have this hemp twine. You do not have to use hemp. I just had this for some reason. I don't even know why I bought it, but it's it was still in its packaging and everything. I don't know if you can see this, but it has a little bit of a copper thread in it. So it's kind of pretty. And then I've got some beeswax. Let me get it open. Got a new thing of beeswax for this. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take this twine and you're gonna use roughly 3 lengths of twine. So here's 1, here's 2, and I'm giving myself about 2 inches extra. And here's 3. So I'm gonna cut that. And then I'm going to take this darning needle, so you can see it's kind of blunt and fat, and it's got a huge eye. And then I'm gonna take my thread and I'm gonna run it through my beeswax just to help me out. Makes it a little bit easier. It keeps your thread from tangling so bad. I'm gonna run it through a few times because this is a brand new thing of beeswax. So it's still pretty hard. All right, so I've got that waxed. I'm gonna thread my needle. And you don't need to tie a knot in this end. And I'm going to start, I forgot to mention something. If you don't have a cover like this that has holes in it, which my previous one did not have holes, let me show you how to punch holes really quick. Okay, so here's a quick trick. If you don't have a cover like this that has holes already punched in it, you can buy a thing called a cinch that punches these holes, but they're like $80. And unless you're like really gonna invest in this situation, it's not entirely necessary. You could also get something that's called a Crop-A-Dial. It's like a giant hole punch that you could make these with. Or you can use an awl. And so I took the guts out of my previous book, that Jay Leno book. And I set my book cover, pretend this is a book cover. This is the back off of a pad of paper. And then I took my awl, this is an awl, you can find them at any craft store, and a hammer. And I drew a straight line, which it doesn't have to be straight, but it does give you kind of a nice guide. I drew a line, measured in about 1/2 inch, and I put the awl on there. And there you go. You've got a hole large enough to sew through. So it doesn't have to be giant. Well, where is it? Can you see that? So you can just go down the line and punch holes with an awl if you don't have a Crop-A-Dial, a cinch, or a book that already has holes in it like this. Okay, so now we're gonna sew. So I'm gonna take this guy and I'm gonna use my awl that I just showed you, and I'm gonna punch holes everywhere that I want to sew through. So I'm not gonna do every single hole here. I'll probably do every 3rd hole. So I did this one, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Could make this easier and do a hammer if you want. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you probably can't see this, but it makes it easier to sew through. So I'm gonna start either at the top or bottom, front or back, doesn't really matter. And I'm gonna start from the inside going out. I'm gonna leave myself a little tail and I'm gonna go up and over the end of the book and back through again. And you're gonna do the, oops, you're gonna do that. And then come back in. And you're going to make a knot. And try to put it in that hole that's there. and I don't know my knot names, so I don't know what kind of knot this is, but I'm doing a double knot, technical term. And then I'm gonna leave it just like that. At some point I'll trim that, but I'm gonna leave it like that for now. And then I'm going to go to my next hole and go from inside to outside and flip it over. And this is called a chain stitch. So you're gonna go underneath these guys, and you're gonna pull up and down. And then you're gonna go back through the hole that you just came out of. Go back through. And then you're gonna go to your next third hole that you punched. You're gonna go out. Easier said than done. You gotta find the hole. Here we go. I need to get my awl again because my hole didn't go through this fabric here. That is what's happening. I'm gonna lay it down, make sure I don't have my book folded over because I'll poke a hole in my book. Now it should have a hole in it. Oh yeah. Okay. And back through, and you're gonna do the same thing again. So you're gonna go underneath, pull up, pull down, back through the same hole again, and then find your next third hole and do it all over again. So I'm gonna speed this up. I'll show you one more time. Through the hole, under the loop, pull up, pull down, back through the hole, and find your next hole. Oops, we're hooked. Okay, we're back. So I'm gonna go back to the inside, and then we're gonna finish it off the same way that we started it. So we're gonna go over the top through this hole. Make sure it wraps the top of the book. I'm gonna do that one more time. Make sure you have it pulled tight. Go underneath and tie that double knot again. Oops, we can do that without the needle. Okay, so there's our first side done. So you can see the little chain stitch, and we are fully secured. So that worked great. So I'm gonna trim these little tails. I leave them there in case of emergency. And then push them down in those little holes. Now we're gonna do this cover. Let me get some more. So again, we're gonna do 3 times the length. So we've got 1, 2, 3. Gonna two really tight knots. And there you have it. So we're gonna trim that off. Okay, and I'm just gonna put a dot of glue on the knot to make sure it doesn't come undone. So it's probably overkill. You probably don't have to do this, but just in case, better safe than sorry, right? So there you have it. Now, we are going to put in the cover for this. And I have this piece of quilting fabric. It came in a fat quarter that my mom sent me, and it looks kind of vintagey. So I'm going to use a piece of this. And figure out which side's the straightest because I don't want to iron. This is the selvage edge, which you can actually use in this case. And I'm going to cut it about right there. And I'm just gonna tear it. And then let's see how much we need. About right here. Oops. If you didn't know you could tear fabric, it's the best way to get a straight line. It's amazing. You do get some strings, but that's okay. And then you can just stretch it from the corners to get it straightened out. And then I'm going to use a combination here. So I'm going to use this glue stick in the middle. Put a bunch in the middle. And then I'm going to use Fabri-Tac or tacky glue down this part. And I'm just going to glue it down. And we might have to make some adjustments here. So the reason I'm doing this is because whenever you sew in your signatures, you will see some of the material from the spine when you get to the end of a signature, and it makes it look pretty. And when you open it up at the beginning, I'm gonna rip a little bit more of this off. See if I can tear it while it's still glued in. This may be a bad move. Ooh, that was okay. And scoot it down a little bit. So I'm trying to kind of cover up those stitches that we did just to protect them. And then this part doesn't matter too much because we're gonna put an end sheet on both sides here. Okay, so for our end sheets, I have a piece of one-sided scrapbooking paper. And the only reason I'm using a piece of one-sided is because this is gonna be glued down. So it doesn't matter what's on this side. Might as well use it. And again, we're going to notate our front and back once I put this in here with pencil, in case you don't have artwork that signifies, you know, what's top and what's bottom. So I'm gonna take my pencil and I'm gonna leave a little bit of a border, about like that. And I'm gonna make a mark where to cut here and a mark where to cut down here. Okay, so this is gonna be our front end page. Just lost my glue stick. There we go. So you will still see a little bit of this, but you know what? I don't care. So I'm gonna use my Elmer's since my other one just fell and I don't wanna get up to get it. And I'm using this book again as my glue book. So you want to make sure to get this glued down really, really well. And try not to get too much glue on the front, but I'm pretty bad about that, so whatever. Okay, there is the front end sheet. I guess you'd call it the beginning sheet. I don't know what you call it. I don't know book terminology too well. And then we'll make one for the back. So now we're gonna glue this on, but I just remembered I like this and I think I want that to show. So I'm gonna take my X-Acto knife there we go, another fun little piece. And then I'm gonna use my glue paper again. and get this glued on. You know that thing I said about not getting glue on the front of your paper? Good luck with that. I got it all over the front, but that's okay. All right, so here we go. How's that look? So this is our empty book. Up next, we are going to sew in the signatures. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed watching me make that cover. That is my favorite part of this process, is kind of stitching it together and making that soft spine. I just think it's so cool. It's kind of a giant combination of different types of crafting. So I think that might be why I'm enjoying junk journaling so much. So stay tuned for the next video in this series, where I'm going to show you how to take those signatures that we made in the last video and stitch them into the cover that we made in this video. And then from there, you can get as creative as you want. You'll have your actual journal put together, and you can start to embellish and make pockets and things like that. So stick around for the next video. It should be out in the next couple of days. And let me know if you have any questions. Comment below what you thought about this video. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. And I'll bring you a lot more content regarding junk journaling and other crafts very soon. Hope to see you guys soon. Bye.